Hello everyone, and you're watching Bitcoin Bubble news channel. In 2025, Ethereum will start to do better than Bitcoin. I have a lot of faith in that. Bitcoin Bubble stands out because it is clear and easy to understand. There's no limit to who can join, no matter how much they know about crypto or how new they are to it. Guess who is watching us now? Robert Kiyosaki is the author of the best-selling book Rich Dad Poor Dad. We'd also like to use this chance to thank everyone who put their trust in us, and we read all of them. It's also free, which is great. If you sign up now, you'll get all the new information for free. Stay ahead of the trends instead of just following them. Sign up for Bitcoin Bubble right now and enjoy the new edge. Let's talk about these things and more in this film. Most of the time, once Bitcoin hits an all-time high, it keeps going up from there. I agree with everything you said. I think you could say that the ETFs helped some of those gains last longer. So around this time in 2020, the market was usually going up, right? We did have the global crash. The market then pretty much exploded up all through the summer. There was a short drop in August and September, but it kept going up all the way through Q4. This time we're not really seeing that, right? This summer hasn't been very exciting. August and September have not been great. It goes back to what I said a few minutes ago, though I think what's really going on is the result of monetary policy. So let's say we were to take a look. Oh, and by the way, I promise to be honest with you all, I don't think so. I think Ethereum could go down even more before it really gets back on track. The reason I say that is because I think that something like this happens with Ethereum every cycle. I'm not really sure why. It's always interesting to me. What I mean is that I do think Ethereum is a blue chip. Bitcoin and Ethereum are the only two big names in the business that I think about. On top of that, Ethereum has an interesting thing that happens every cycle. It's basically the ETH Bitcoin pair. It is the parent of ETH Bitcoin. Honestly, I think we could learn a lot from what happens with the parent company of ETH Bitcoin. That's why I think your statement, which is completely true, is like what's going on with this market. It keeps getting crabs. And to be honest, it's been going nowhere with a slight downward trend. Since March, both Bitcoin and Ethereum have had lower highs and lower lows. The reason for it though, and the reason I think people might be getting lost on this is, look, ETH Bitcoin works in this way right now. The main thing it does is set a high point and a low point. You can see that it has something like a lower high after that, yes? The same thing here, right? There is a high point and then a lower high point in between these 2 points. It then starts to slowly bleed back down. It hasn't been different this time, right? It was going into the merge, which I'm sure you all remember was a bleep, this lower high right here. It was a pretty crazy and important event for Ethereum. They had been working towards it for years and years and years. It finally took place. But what's interesting is that ETH Bitcoin goes through this loop where it tries to go up, falls back down, and then goes back up again, less high. After that, it gets to this part, right? It's just above the range low that it set between the two peaks, but not by much to turn it around. After staying in that area for a few months, it finally breaks down, right? It breaks down in the end. You can see that it had a fake out the first time it broke down in 2016. In fact, it was in June, right? Yes, it was in June 2016, and it broke through that previous range low. The cycle after that took place in July, right? After that, the circle started to break down around that time. In January, there was a wick below it. In March, around the time that Bitcoin hit its high point, it really began to fall below it. Bitcoin whale activity has dropped a lot since March, when the price of the cryptocurrency reached its highest point. However, experts say this isn't a sign that prices are going down. Whales might be waiting for the next big chance to buy or sell. Sentiment says the number of Bitcoin whale deals worth $100,000 or more has dropped by 33.6% or $679 in March. Even more Ethereum whale deals went down 72.5% off the high point. Sentiment says that this drop in whale activity isn't always a sign that the market is going down. When whales have at least 10,000 BTC in their accounts, they often act when the market is very bullish or negative. Some buyers see this as a chance to buy since the crypto fear and greed index has a score of 31 for fear. Bitcoin is now worth $58,360, down 0.97% in the last 30 days. crypto sellers like Ajit Karana and Don Crypto. Trades are not worried about the recent price changes because they see them as normal for Bitcoin's market cycle. Market watchers think that Bitcoin whales have slowed down because they are looking for the right conditions in the market to make their next move. Seeing this picture through the lens of Ethereum is what makes it interesting, right? If you look at it through the lens of Ethereum, you can see that it has always gone the same way. So take a look at ET. Do you remember that it lost backing for the first time in 2016 in June? After that, Ethereum reached its highest point in June 2016. After that, it lost about 70% of its value before getting back on track. After having a child, it went up, right? Since it's usually the year after having that Bitcoin's popularity goes down, it went up in the year after having. Bitcoin's popularity goes up every other year, it goes down every year after that. That was the first cycle, right? That was the 2016 event. Oh, and then look at what came next, right? Bitcoin and ETH in 2019. When did it stop working? Didn't it break down in the summer? In June and July, ETH Bitcoin stopped working. In 2019, in June and July, ETHUSD hit its highest point. Yes, that's why you can see that ETHUSD followed that trend in the last two cycles. And it bled about 70% after they found that top. On that note, it's simple to get off track and ask why include the pandemic? But I'm not, right? I mean, I'm leaving out this global crash on purpose. As if we were only looking at what happened up until the end of the year. Okay. Since that's the case, I think to myself, okay, well, we saw a fake out here in March and April below the range low, kind of like 2016. And if you go look at what ETH did, that's exactly where it topped out in March, just before Bitcoin had its launch. It's already gone down 54%. Yes. In a lot of ways, this time has been the same, right? In fact, things are going very much the same way. What's really interesting is, if you look at the split of ETH Bitcoin from 2016 to 2019, you'll see that Ethereum dropped 70% after that. It started to rise again the next year. It fell all the way to the bottom in 2016. ETHUSD bled until December, right? That's December 2016, December 2019. The next year it picked up again. You could also say that it started up again right here in 2020. After that, the pandemic took place, right? It threw everything off. If you fit the data points, these data points with these data points, kind of like the non-bubble data points, that's what's interesting. This is what the graph looks like when you put those data points together. Yes, this is the logarithmic regression plot. It's interesting that every time ETH Bitcoin fell apart in 2016, 2019, and now 2024, ETHUSD bled into Q4, into the regression band, and then it had a huge move the next year, right? The next year. Then the year when it makes the biggest jump is usually the year after halving. That's when it starts to do better than Bitcoin. Bitcoin's value went up because US inflation went down. A lot of money coming into ETH